primary control of critical vehicle functions. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having yourselves a fantastic start to the end. Doesn't look like any issues here, right, with the software. Sorry for the slightly late start. But yeah, we're looking like we're in good shape here this morning. So hope you guys are all having yourselves a fantastic Monday AM. Had a good weekend, right? Feel recharged, refreshed, and ready to go. Obviously, a little bit of some crazy news came out here this weekend. Well, maybe not that crazy, but with all the GME stuff, right? So the old Keith Gill, he's back at it again here, going a little bit psycho mode with some of his positions, and that certainly should create a little bit of volatility in this market here today. Now, historically, when we see situations where GME squeezes, that tends to be scenarios, right, where basically all or the remainder of the market tends to kind of pull back here a little bit and catch its breath. Now, we're not quite seeing that scenario here setting up yet this AM, and we certainly have a significant bullish bias. So it's more seeing if we can get things to sync up here this morning. If price action wants to behave a little bit irrationally, right, which it often can when it comes to sort of news narratives, then that's going to be a really good excuse to sort of just sit on hands and basically not waste any money if it isn't there. Trading wise, right, the objective is to continue to basically keep trading the same way like I did last week, right? So pyramiding into positions, right, looking for those sort of fake outs and being beyond stubborn, I would say, right, in enforcing my directional bias. So, if we have a system play, no desire to play anything besides that system and just willing to ignore everything else. Basically, no matter how hard I try to convince myself otherwise, trading my system not only makes me money, but it preserves my mental capital, and it keeps me feeling like a rational and reasonable human being. The second I start to overthink it and, execute outside of those confines or do things that are counter to that system or start to ignore those rules, I think the worse my trading goes. And when I evaluate sort of when times are going well and when I evaluate times when they're maybe more emotionally draining, the common characteristic here, right, is that like when things are going well, right, when I'm feeling like I'm in control or like things are going whatever, it's when I'm not putting too much thought into it, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's like when I'm not putting too much pressure on myself to have to interpret each little price action, right, intraday to mean this or mean that or mean X, Y, Z. And so I can remove a lot of that pressure on myself, right, by just being deliberate basically in how I plan out my trading. The kind of the realization I have, and this is something I'm going to try to focus on here a little bit in the next, I don't know, month or so here maybe. But I think that almost every single trader has the same, we'll say like 10 thoughts, right? So we all have the same, we all can get to those same 10 thoughts in whatever order. But I think the difference between most profitable traders and unprofitable traders is that profitable traders have that order of thoughts essentially in the right order, and unprofitable traders don't, right? So unprofitable traders, they enter a trade and then they get anxiety and they're like, oh, fuck, this should have been my stop loss, right? Whereas a profitable trader figures out what that order of thoughts is before, right, they enter a trade, and so removes a lot of that confusion. So from just like a educator's perspective, I think a lot of what my responsibility should be on a day-to-day basis is basically helping individuals unscramble the order of thoughts. If we can basically drill in that process correctly, consistently, then I think that removes a lot of the anxiety that we face on a day-to-day basis, and it'll remove a lot of the confusion that individuals have on a trade-to-trade basis as well. So my objective over the next little bit, right, is really to ensure that we'll call it order of operations is the way that it needs to be. And that's going to be my focus, right, and just making sure that that's a really consistent process. Because for myself, I don't ever take a trade if I don't have, like, we'll call it cooperation, right, with my pre-market prep system. I don't take a trade if I find my entry first, right? So if we can basically drill those steps into people's thought processes and make that habitual for a lot of traders, I think that that's going to be a lot smoother and calmer of an execution process for everyone. And when we have smooth and calm executions, that ultimately leads to a significantly more profitable trade. So the primary focus here today, right, and for the remainder of the week, as we start things off here, is again, right, obsessing over the variables I can't control. And a lot of what I think those variables are on a day-to-day basis is basically just the order of which I choose to behave. And the more that I can make those processes consistent, I think the easier it is for that to kind of step together and hopefully give me, right, the order of events that I want that will make me consistently profitable. From a VIX perspective, right, we are still in that expansion event here. So VIX is decreasing, but from like my volatility indicator, we're still above that zero line, and we're still seeing some good separation. So anticipating relative amounts of volatility here today. So let's start kind of mapping things out, figure out what we want to do, and then go from there. So hope you guys have yourselves a great day, and let's get after it. So good morning, Suresh, Jay, Gary, Michelle, Vlad, Salstein, Bergs, Dayon, Antonin, Craig, John, Topher, Bug, Steven, Ruben, Jeff, Randall, Michael, Brian, Samuel, Gabe, Jose, James, Tanja, and Jen. Hope you guys are all having yourselves a fantastic start to your Monday. And let's get after it here today. So what's the count here on ES? Let's start there and figure out what we want to do. So what's the count? Yeah, 3 for 3 to the upside, spot on. And this is a really interesting 3 for 3, right? So Friday, everything looked like it was going to be, you know, market sell-off 2.0, big breakdown there all day, right, at month end. And then it almost ended up being like bears ended up getting trapped and then absolutely floored, right, with that volume profile into close there on Friday. So literally last 10 minutes of the day, we just went full psychopath mode, right, up towards that market close. So if we get a little bit of a personality change, right, in this market, that often, well, you want that to occur on a violent volume standard. The personality change that we're talking about here to a certain extent is to essentially suggest, right, that if we were concerned about, you know, this pattern here breaking down, right, with that Friday essentially setting up to be a breakdown, we ended up getting a reversal. So maybe here, instead of this being a breakdown pattern, this now ultimately sets up a little bit more like a breakout pattern here, right? Or a short squeeze pattern instead of a breakdown, especially because we aren't seeing the VIX cooperate and also kind of rise up, right, as we're seeing those narratives. So if we're looking at price action decoupling away from sort of how it's behaved here a month ago, essentially, right, or 2 months ago at this point, we're seeing a slightly different reaction off of those lows than maybe what we saw at the start of April. And so that makes it a little bit easier to also maybe imply that we have a bit more of a bullish bias than a bearish bias. So short term here today, right, we've got bull case or bust. And like we started off the stream talking about a little bit how the market's a bit choppy and we'll call it indecisive, right, when we have a GME craze day. So if that ends up being the case, right, ends up maybe just being a day of consolidation, a catch your breath day after a mega bounce on Friday. So that also wouldn't be unexpected. So if I see bearish price action, I'm not going to waste my energy there. And I'm just going to walk away, right, and basically make it easy for myself to be green. Whoops. So again, like I said, right, 3 out of 3 here to the upside. And then should also check, right, the economic calendar here today. It's the Fed blackout period, so we shouldn't see too much Fed speak here this week, which will be nice. And yeah, okay, economic calendar here too. We got ISM at 10. The 945 PMI could be interesting as well. And then we're going like 53.30 and then 53.80. Okay, sweet. Where's the, what price is the EMA, Jen? So yeah, if we could find support off that, that would make a ton of sense, yeah. Acting like a magnet here today. So high volume retracement back into the EMA, you would anticipate that to behave like a little bit of support. So yeah, if we could see that happen here today, fantastic. If not, no worries. I got it up here, no worries. But yeah, you're pretty much spot on. EMA is approximately 5,300. So a nice little bounce off that cycle level would 100% give you that juice. All right, NQ. Similar, different, how do we feel? $18,800 and then like 1,900. Yeah, spot on, Randall. Not too much is changing. 3 for 3 to the upside. We're going to go NA to the downside. And fine, right? Looks okay. All right, crude. Selling off. And decreasing volume, but increasing outlier volume. In the lower end of that range, so maybe you could look for like a reversal, but you would need bigger volume than what you saw on Friday. That might be a little bit challenging to establish here this AM. But if you do get that oomph, I mean, could be in play. All right, Apple gapping up 193, 3 for 3 here to the upside. Needs to still break out from that Tuesday range, but should have a chance to do so here today. Again, right, this has been better as a swing trade than a day trade here recently. I don't see too much changing in the short term. Okay, Tesla, a little bit of an outlier here, right? A bit indecisive last couple days. Least bearish candle, decreasing volume, little gap up as it's a 1 for 3 here to the upside. Sorry, 1 for 3 to the downside. So not super enthusiastic. I would say it needs to clear 183, right? Maybe the story that we're being sold here, I'm making my maybes very long, right, when I'm saying this. But if we're seeing a little bit of a narrative of the index is looking to pop and break out, but maybe some of these individual leading names are telling us, hey, slow down, catch your breath. Maybe today ends up being I don't want to say a dip buy day, but like a consolidation day before establishing its next range. Okay, Microsoft, red candle, so it's going to be a weak 2 out of 3, right, with volume. So it's going to be a bit challenging for me to trade this. Historically, I could be looking, if I can invalidate that Friday standard, I think that's going to be a little bit challenging. So Microsoft, yes, technically, okay, I could probably come up with a compromise here, but it's giving me just like enough reasons to just stay out of this. So I'm probably not going to get an A+ look on this. I'd rather sit on hands and kind of avoid this if I can. All right, Amazon, opening up middle of that candle's range, 2 out of 3 here again, weak 2 out of 3. So setting up as an inside bar here. Okay. AMD gapping up here, 170. Look, I would argue that this is probably the trend line, right? 3 points of contact now on that lower range. But that would also need to get above that upper point of contact, right? So above 174.50. Again, not too much is changing here. We are going to call this a 3 for 3, but it's a 3 for 3 in the middle of its consolidation, so it's less interesting. Okay. Nvidia maybe starting to look like a bear or a bull flag here. Going into its split. What a freaking psycho. Week 2 out of 3 here again. And then, yeah, not too much is changing. Above 1150 would be in play. Okay, Meta, 3 for 3 here to the upside. Nice little bounce off those lows. Again, a little bit like that AMD story, right? Where you like to see a breakout from the upper range before being aggressive here. So I would say no dice yet. Clear 481, right? Cool. NA to the downside, right? As it is a 3 for 3. All right, Netflix. Again, right, a weak 2 out of 3 here to the downside. Increasing volume. It's still going to be an NA for me, right? If that's the case. Kind of blasting through. Sorry, one sec, guys. sorry about that. So yeah, Google here, right? Okay, you can maybe look for a little bit of a bounce scenario up towards where that upper trend line, but again, very similar story like I'm seeing across the board, where I'm not going to be very motivated by this, right? It's got to be perfect. I don't think it is, so I'm gonna be, yeah, I'm gonna pass on this. Again, 3 for 3 to the upside, but looks maybe still like it could be range bound to a certain extent, right? So a very high volume breakout there, a very high volume reaction on month end on Friday. Not going to say that it won't stop climbing up here, but very often, right, this ends up just being a catch your breath day before it makes the next move. I'm a big believer that markets like to move in the second most obvious way, right? Not necessarily the most obvious way. And so second most obvious, I think, within today's context would be a catch your breath day before basically breaking out tomorrow. Will that happen? I don't know, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. VIX 13.12, fine. Bitcoin hanging around 70K. Again, a little bit confined here, right? Needs to get under 66 or above like 71. So I'm really just trying to keep an eye on the indexes and see how they behave. GME 39 spot. Wow. So yeah, we'll keep an eye, guys. Any questions? Anything you guys want to go over? Kind of a weirder, stranger prep. But yeah, I feel like I've got a pretty good idea of what the move is here today. Questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah, perfect. So spot on, right? We're going to trade our plan. We're going to trade our system here. We're not going to deviate away from that, even if emotionally, right, the market wants to pull me in towards that sort of suffering, right? I'm not going to allow it to do that. Almost maybe a bit late here now, but almost like my New Year's resolution for trading here today. Hey, SG, is going to be really about protecting that mental capital. More and more and more and more, I think trading really is all about that, right? It's can I protect that mental capital? Can I protect that, I don't know, demon taking over that tricked me into doing things that I don't want to do, and just being a little bit more proactive and protecting myself from that, right? Even just those days where like I know that I'm not going to get a look and price action isn't behaving the way that I want. We shouldn't torture ourselves, right, by sitting and watching. So I'll work on that a little bit. That's sort of my, call it half-year resolution. Better late than never. But yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape here this morning, team. Any questions, guys? Anything you guys want to look over here? Any questions? All right, guys, no questions. I'm going to go spend a couple minutes here visualizing a successful trading day. So do that for a couple minutes, and then we'll do a quick little rundown here as the session is starting. All right, team. So let's have ourselves a fantastic week, right? A good bout of volatility and a lot of fun out there, right? Ultimately, that's got to be one of the primary focuses. Like, I love trading. It's my favorite thing I do on a day-to-day basis. And there are times when trading stops being fun, right? And trading generally stops being fun when I lose control over basically my ability to behave the way that I want, right? So if I want trading to constantly remain fun and constantly feel like it's this ultimate game and it has this unlimited amounts of potential, then really it's a question of, okay, how can I focus on remaining in control so that I can essentially allow the game, or I can essentially afford the tickets to play the game. So I love this game more than anything, right? It's so much fun. It is the best thing that I could have possibly ever imagined doing. So let's see how it goes, guys. Let's see how it goes today. GameStop already halted. Oh, Jesus. One thing, so I had, maybe this is too much information here, but I had a few beers this weekend and came home and I was sitting down there on the couch. I was thinking, like, how can I make sure that we are all getting the value that we want right out of the program? And I was thinking maybe the way for us to do that effectively is to almost do like a weekly or bi-weekly group coaching call. Something that's recorded, maybe it's like an afternoon, something along those lines, where we can basically do like no dumb questions Q&A outside of market hours or outside of like traditional trading hours. There might be a lot of value in something like that. I'm not sure if there's any interest there. Could even maybe do it as like a giant team Zoom call. But essentially, yeah, put together like an hour, maybe 2 hours a week. Where, yeah, like in the afternoons, can basically do a glorified or very intense Q&A. And then during the trading day, right, use the chat, okay, to obviously communicate, right, make sure we're all on the same page, all this kind of stuff. But to feel maybe less pressure to have to answer those questions. Okay, awesome. So maybe we'll do at some point. Yeah, we could do like a little submission portal and stuff like that where people could submit trades or whatever, or share a screen or do something. Yeah. But I think that would be a pretty good resource. So what we can maybe do here at some point today, or I'll put in the chat here at some point, is we can vote on a week. Okay, so we're still looking for that fake out setup here to the downside, right? We want to see, we've got 3 out of 3 here to the upside conditions. So we're looking for that expansion event, right? So we're looking for this green box setup. So we want to see that low vol fake out, some sort of indication, right, that bulls are in control here. And then we can go, but I mean, this is pretty weak volume at these lows. So it should not be challenging for us to say that bulls have reclaimed control. If they can't reclaim control here off this little fake out, then we know relatively with some decent conviction, right, that it's going to end up being either like a bit of a grind day, etc. So if we see weak bears and weak bulls aren't able to basically step back up there, then we know probably realistically not going to be the busiest of sessions. So we'll sit and wait here still. Got a bit of work to do. So what do we need to see here, right, to call this a fake out? What would be the standard? We'll be close. But what would be the standard? Any thoughts? Kind of, right? We want it to look like most bullish, second most bullish, normal body bullish here, right? And then on bigger volume than that previous candle. So we've got that little fake out lower, but I don't know if we have a very good indication that this is still a bullish control. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to still see a lower low here. So yeah, no interest yet. But it is getting closer. It's better, but not a strong enough candle, right? It's not strong bears or strong bulls at those lows yet. So I'm going to sit and wait. Again, if I don't get that perfect fake out entry, then I can look to start my position right on a high vol breakout or a low vol pullback. So I still have, 3 possible scenarios that I could kind of accomplish here. But I wouldn't say that I have a ton of conviction that the low of day is in yet. Basically, the question that I'm asking myself, right, when I have those fake out scenarios is, do I think I have a high probability low of day inside this market? Maybe not even low of day, low of morning. Do I have a good 90-minute low or a 90-minute high? However you want to phrase it. Right now, I would say not yet. But we can still chill and wait. Yeah, that was just about like you pulled the words right out of my mouth there, Jen. Was kind of reminding me maybe a little bit about Friday, where it was relatively quiet price action until then that 9:45 candle, right? So we had 9 a.m. data or 9:45 data on Friday as well. And then that created like that algo selling. I think the fact that we haven't seen at the market open a bar show up that's above outlier volume is maybe a little bit concerning. So I'd be just a tad skeptical, right, that this is super legit data at this point still. So yeah, you're spot on. Nailed it. Okay, right, and not increasing volume here off of this separation. So again, right, I'm not really easily able to make the argument that those are strong bulls defending those lows. We could have maybe played this as a 2 candle pattern, right, if I had a high volume separation away from that, say, 936 low, but didn't happen. So I don't have a ton of conviction here yet that the low of day is in. So it's hard for me to want to buy this fake out. Again, doesn't mean it can't move, but if I'm going to be pyramiding in here, I don't think I have the right conditions to play this low vol fake out yet. So let's see what this data does here in a minute. Like I said, right, our biggest concern, well, maybe not our biggest concern, but often what we see after a big Friday, right, or a big day is it gets stuck and catches its breath. Today, so far, it's a stuck and catch your breath market. How do I know that? Well, the volume is pathetic, right? Truth be told, it's really low. So that's telling me that there's a general lack of enthusiasm. Again, doesn't mean it can't happen, doesn't mean it can't set up, yada, yada, yada. Just means that I'm not willing to rush it yet. Right? A limited edge in doing that. Even almost getting a little bit of like pre-algo selling here. So let's see, this could be interesting. So again, right, if we do get a breakout, we need to see a breakout on bigger volume than what we saw previous bar. Yeah, well, the volume standard we have today doesn't need to be very extreme, right? Which is the beautiful thing about having trending base. But a lack of enthusiasm maybe looks a bit more like this than it does anything else. Like what we're getting is like maybe 65-70% of the days are tradable short term. I would say today so far not really a tradable session. At least not one for me. I don't make money on this type of price action. Things are going to get a bit weird here, like volume-wise in general, right? Because you have the June contract roll starting next week for futures, so Thursday, Friday. I think 4th of July this year is like on a bit of a weird one. You've got Juneteenth coming up here pretty soon. That's going to be another market holiday, so that's next, that's the 19th, right? Yeah, seems like it, eh? I didn't realize there was an OPEC decision this weekend. Should do better reading my news. Oh yeah, little fake out higher and then breaks down on volume, yeah. Well, that's the thing though, right? Like with trading, it's really not like any system can work, any technique can be profitable. So no interest in this to the downside, right? No interest in this. So yeah, maybe we could be still setting up for that little fake out scenario, right? Not super motivated by this yet. Again, we're going to go back to Jen's comment here a little bit, right? We could explain maybe some of this movement positioning for the data. But if I'm going to get a counter trend day versus what I saw, like this could potentially be a low vol pullback, right? Versus a outright momentum reversal. So I'm not going to play that momentum reversal here and try to fade this all the way down under 5,300. That's a low probability trade. So I'd rather sit on hands than trade low probability. Just a little bit over 3 years, Rusty. Just a little bit over 3 years. So it has been, yeah, what an adventure. Almost 3 years to the day. I think I started like last week of April, first week of May, something like that. It's when you, Colin, and KC joined. It does feel like more than 3 years. But I reckon it feels like more than 3 years because for the first two of them, I was streaming 9 to 4. I still don't know how I did that. It still blows my mind. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of this. Something to work on. But I have a huge amount of guilt associated with not watching the market. Oh, James, I don't even want to know, man. I'll take a break for lunch. I think I took like take an hour and a half for lunch, maybe. But it was, yeah, it was intense. And I would like never get trades in the afternoon, like never. I think I could like count on one hand the amount of times I tortured myself watching for 5 hours only to not take a trade. Oh my god. Whoa. Huh. Yeah, Antonin, yeah, spot on. No, Bergs, I was trading a bit more stocks. So trading ES pretty much exclusively has been a thing for the last 3 months. So I used to trade more options. So I went from trading options on the stream. Actually, let's start this again. Went from trading stocks on the stream to trading options on the stream to trading stocks on the stream to trading futures. Yeah, I got that DTR dad hat laying around somewhere too. That's a good question. I think futures, to be honest with you, Bergs, futures are my favorite to trade. Not because that's necessarily like a better asset or more. It's not like my win rate's better or anything along those lines. It's just the amount of upside that I have with it, right? So, yeah, when I was trading stocks, I was making good money with it for sure, but I was trading like 400 bucks a dollar for every move that it went, maybe a bit more, maybe 500 bucks for every dollar that it went. Here I can play, I mean, 5,000 bucks a point, right? So just from like an upside potential or like from income potential, I can do a lot less, but essentially get a lot more return. So from that perspective, it's my favorite. If I had, like back in my hedge fund days, if I could be trading, load up the old VWAP tool, and VWAP, the way we talked about it, was just executing for us to make sure we didn't hit about 5% volume. But yeah, hit up the old VWAP tool and load up 40 mil. Okay, it's a slightly different equation because my cost per tick is a lot more fun then. Would I say that futures is probably what I'm going to trade for the rest of my life? I don't know. I have no clue there. As a day trader, right now, I think it's the best opportunity. It's the best risk to reward, most asymmetric upside. Will that always be the case? Who knows? But yeah, I've been loving it so far. I don't see myself going to anything else anytime soon, at least. I made more in the last 2 months trading futures than I made in the 6 months before that. So the value of that it's impossible to ignore. There's a couple of technical glitches going on here. So there's a data glitch. One that's going on that's maybe a little bit concerning. Berkshire Hathaway down 99% due to some glitch. So yeah, that's halted at the moment. It's interesting. So yeah, definitely a data reaction there, right? That's a stop loss crusher, that that candle. And good justification, right, for not going short on an initial breakdown. You would have been stopped out on tilt there for sure. Yeah, I think so too. What do you mean by equity sweeps? There's a couple different definitions, so I just want to make sure that we're not confusing ourselves here. The candle's got, what, 15 points of range almost? It's pretty gross. Yeah, well, to be honest, it's kind of what algos are designed to do to a certain extent, right? So they're designed to basically pull orders, right, without dealing with slippage. So if I were to think about like even just working institutionally, right? So if I were to buy, say I had an Apple position here today, or I'm trying to build up an Apple position and I'm trying to ride it up. Well, when I look at the order book, I can see all the market orders, right? I can see where they're at. So if I watch price action, I know that I can get X amount of shares filled at X time. So it's more I don't know if it's necessarily a liquidity sweep. You could look at it that way, but it's also like an attempt to get in your positioning. A pretty aggressive one, especially when you see that much volume. It's basically just, yeah, people. It's a bad example, maybe, or a bad thing to say, but a lot of big funds, they can basically dollar cost average into day trades, right? That's essentially how they get to the position sizing they want. So in a low liquidity day where you see like a relatively low liquidity event where a relatively low liquidity base, like we've saw this so far this morning, and then kind of like a 9:45 headline, 10 a.m. headline, you basically just see a lot of sloppy orders hanging out there that are slim pickings for me to get the position sizing I want. So I think a lot of what that is basically, yeah, taking out participants that are not holding onto their money very tightly. Does that make sense a little bit? It's kind of a shitty explanation. And like all it takes, right, to get this candle is one fund, right? To be like, fuck this, let's sell at 53.12 or whatever it is. Well, I think that's what it is, right? There's a great line. It's been living in my head rent free for the last 10 days or so. But it's like a Jesse Livermore quote, and basically the line was, most people hate choppy conditions, but I love them because it's just weak buyers, weak sellers telling me which way the market, or deciding which way the market's going to move for me. So it's other people stressing and deciding which way my next trade is. So I love that. I love that as like a phrasing, because it makes choppy days a positive, right? Whereas I think very oftentimes where we get stuck inside a choppy day, it feels like the world is ending, or like, you know, your brain is getting squeezed in from the pressure of having that position on. Whereas if you can avoid that pressure and you can sit on hands while other people are getting basically pressed, it's positive, because when they get shaken out, then you'll get that smooth move in the market. So feeling less guilty about that, I think, is any mental framework I can have there is really positive. One sec, guys. We'll be back in a minute here. One sec. Okay, right. Still not quite getting evidence of that fake out occurring here yet, right? So we need to see some sort of conviction, right, that bulls are back in control. Don't have that here yet. So again, right, being patient. I'm not getting any reasons here to be forceful, so why throw my money away? So you guys have any questions? Fire away. Kind of just sitting on hands here for now. Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily need to see mega bull volume, but I want to have some sort of evidence that bears have failed. So, bearish failure can look like a couple things, right? It could be overwhelmed on volume, or we make new highs of day, or we essentially see like a failed breakdown in some sort. So yeah, I would need some sort of probably a breakout, right? Like a red to green reversal, right? Type thing. Move above, hold 53, 13, 25, something like that. I would say realistically, probably a pretty low probability event of me getting a trade here today. I would say in general, probably pretty low probability. Just all like the GME stuff in the background. Not seeing a ton of volume showing up here. You're not seeing an incredibly enthusiastic reaction 45 minutes in. So I feel like I'm kind of being sold the narrative of just, hey, Michael, be patient. So with that, like whatever, call them group coaching calls. Is there any preference over what day of the week you guys want to do them? Yeah, to be honest with you, Jay, Saturdays are not going to work. Neither will Fridays, guys, because realistically, there's going to be allotted times where there's going to be travel days. So it would have to be Monday through Thursday. Yeah, we're gonna figure out times really for everyone that works, Eugene. Welcome to the stream, good man. Glad you made it in. So yeah, not quite sure exactly on the time. We're gonna put a little message here in the group. People can vote on it. But yeah, we can make that work, no problem. Yeah, you're always going to have, like, after the first call, James, you're always going to have 4 or 5 days or a week to go over. So it'll just be the first call that's, like, maybe a little bit weird. Yeah, all of them will be recorded, Jeff. All of them will be recorded. And yeah, there'll be like transcripts and stuff like that too, so it should be available. But yes, reality here is that there's not going to be a time or a date that suits everyone, right? There's too many different, too many individual lives, right, inside the program. So we could figure something out there. For me, it doesn't really matter, Craig. I will say that Mondays are usually my busiest of days, as I've got a. Well, look, the preparation, right, is um, really only going to be mostly for the first one, right? Once its routine is established, then that process will be pretty similar. But yeah, historically from my end, selfishly, Mondays and Wednesdays are generally my busiest of days. So Wednesdays I tend to have a bunch of calls with like my property manager, accountant, stuff like that. So things are a little bit busy from that perspective, just doing non-DTR things. Mondays usually are the busiest days for one-on-one calls. So generally, those are the days where I'm probably the most tired after the day is over. But there really is not too much. For me, it's more important to have something consistent. If it's consistent and it's the same time or same thing every week, then I can kind of build my life around that a little bit and easy peasy. And then one thing I'll be introducing here pretty soon as well. I haven't quite figured out the exact formatting of this, but I mentioned this a little bit last week about like 100 trade challenge. So I reckon that yeah, there's a really well, when I make the spreadsheet, once I figure out exactly what I want to include on it, I think that'll be really beneficial for people too. I don't know if it's about, so for full disclosure, right? Selfishly, James, it is not about you guys. I do this because I think it fundamentally makes me a better trader, right? So that is why I run this room, why I do it. I think it makes me better. I think it gives me more leverage to beat the market and creates more asymmetric upside. And a lot of why I do a lot of things the way I do is because there is a level of accountability that I maybe wouldn't have if I were to continue to trade by myself. So I don't mean that necessarily like I would necessarily be doing things fundamentally a lot different, but a big perk of running a trading room is I essentially get paid to do my homework, right? So I get paid to keep my journal active, right? I get paid to do my prep in the morning. I get paid to do all of those sort of things, and that all has an incredible benefit for my trading, right? Just the consistency of those processes. So adding more things that help me review my trading is, yes, okay, like on the top level, you know, the shiny thing is it's a sub benefit for you guys. But fundamentally, I'm introducing it because I think it's going to help me also improve my trading. So I say very, very often, right, that trading is an incredibly selfish job, right? It's an incredibly selfish career because it's all about what we do, right? And when I do things inside the room, for full disclosure, right, I do things that I think are best for me. Now, I don't do things that I think are best for me but works for you guys, right? That's not how it is. But every decision is from a fundamental basis of, okay, do I think that this will make me a better trader? And if I do this consistently, will then there be trickle down effects, right? That are also positive for the group. So it is not thinking about you guys, to be honest, right? It's thinking, okay, how can I make my life easier so that I don't feel pressure intraday to have to answer everything in the moment. And if I don't have to feel the pressure to answer everything in the moment, then you know what? I'm probably not going to miss that trade like I did on Thursday. So it's a selfish pursuit. And I don't want you guys to misinterpret that. So guys, any questions here? Anything you guys want to go over? Like I said, I don't think I'm going to get a trade here, and I'm just going to let this market chop about without me. So happy to answer anything, but otherwise, probably just going to go walk the dog here before some one-on-ones this afternoon. Still halted. There's some fuckery going on here today. Yeah, guys, any questions? I'm not going to trade in this, so I'll probably just go take off here in a sec. Yeah. It's got to be some sort of misreporting. You too, Bergs. Have a great day, man. Huh. It's all dumb money. All right, team. Well, I'm going to kill it here for the day. This is going into doji mode and just hanging around 5,300. So I'm not interested. I'm just going to not waste my time on this anymore. So same deal like always, right? If you have any questions outside of market hours, hit me up and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with a few of you in our one-on-ones here later this afternoon. That'll be a lot of fun. Otherwise, right, should have a few slots available Tuesday, Thursday still if you guys want to catch up. Otherwise, yeah, have yourselves all a fantastic rest of your day. And hopefully we can get a nice trading day there going tomorrow. So have yourselves a good one, and we'll catch up then. Peace.